Hey, what's up, guys? So I wanted to go over a quick review. I was working with some students yesterday, and I felt like it was a very good lesson that I really have no problem sharing with anybody. I feel like it could help a lot of beginner traders, and stock selection is a huge, huge deal, especially when you first start trading. And there's so many ways that you could just not lose money and keep yourself from going on tilt or doing something stupid just by having good stock selection. So I want to go through a couple of charts that I was talking with some students yesterday and make it a little bit quicker. So we had four stocks we were looking at yesterday. There's DRMA, AKAN, EVGO, and BBLG. And the first thing that I went through at the very beginning was I started looking at the charts. I don't like this chart at all. Um, this chart, it's iffy, honestly. I'm not a huge fan of this. It doesn't have any volume in pre-market. Um, BVLGO, they traded it on the backside over here. I'm not a huge fan of that because I'm more of like a first day kind of trader. That's my personal style. I like to have volume, volatility. I don't. I'm not an expert in trading, day twos or gap downs and all that kind of stuff. I don't focus on that. And so for me, since it's not my main focus, I didn't even watch any of these, honestly. But the first thing I went through with them was the first tool that I use is Edge Trade. This thing is literally a freaking lifesaver. And if you guys don't have a subscription, I'll have a link down in the description where you guys can have a discount code if you use my code. But this thing really, like, no joke, saves me a ungodly amount of money because it takes 5 seconds to look at it. And I'm literally on here, like I said, for 5 seconds. I look at this 1 million shares float. Am I going to trade that? Hell no. I'm not trading something with a 1 million float. That thing can get manipulated so quick, it's not even funny. It's literally not even worth my time. On top of that, it had SSR. And so for me, that's an absolute no go. I don't trade anything under 5 million share float. Um, really. And that's just my personal preference. So already BBLG is not going to be traded by me at all. Then DRMA, that's even worse. It doesn't even have a million shares float. So once again, I would not, I would not be trading this thing at all. It's crazy to me to be even trading that. The next one was Aiken. Aiken. 2 million float or just shy of 2 million float. Really? Like, once again, I'm not interested in trading stuff that can literally rip your face off. And then the last one is EVGO. This has a good float. Okay, cool. That's good. So it's got a higher float. Awesome. It's got 50-50 gap stats. Out of 8 gaps, it's closed green 4 times, closed red 4 times. This is what I don't like. I don't like the short float being 30%. And I definitely don't like the institutional ownership being 43%. Um, but out of all of them, this is the one that I would possibly trade. Still, it's really not ideal. And re like recently, there hasn't been any stocks that's super ideal for me personally. There's a bunch of micro floats. I'm just it's not I don't need to trade. And so for me, it's easier to just sit back and wait for the market to kind of be ideal for me to trade because I'm not into I already did all that. I already did the, you know, seeing all these guys that can trade everything and I feel like I'm super cocky and I can jump into any stock and micro float, SSR, recent IPO, whatever. Like I tried to trade everything and I lost a lot of money. And that was one of the things that I stopped doing a lot. But when I was talking to my students, I like the thing that I look at on this. So imagine that these things actually had good gap stats. They had a high float or a higher float. They weren't on SSR. They actually had good daily levels to risk off of. Let's just imagine that like the scenario is good to trade these things. First off, BBLG. This is just my own personal preference of how I trade and how I look at things, right? So this thing has got every time I start trading, I try to look at that's like this that's what I call the ceiling, right? So that's the ceiling for me personally. Everyone's got their own way of looking at the market. This is the floor. To make money as a short seller, I need to make sure that I am shorting as close as possible to this level. This is where I'm going to make money. This is where the big hands are going to buy the stock at a discount. They're trying to buy down here and sell up here to the retailer. And if you once you start understanding the idea of what the actual stock market is, instead of just getting caught up in emotion and just pushing buttons all day and turning your charts into a machine gun looking chart, it makes it a lot easier. And so for me, why in the hell would I be trading down here? If you just do a simple um let's just say from here, oh, let's second. From here to here. This is a simple fib chart, right? So for me, the only place I would even consider trading this thing, honestly, would be around this level. Why? Because that's the higher end of the floor and ceiling, right? I don't want to be trading in no man's land. For me, it's literally it's not even worth my time. So for me, this chart, I would not be touching it. On top of that, how I personally trade, I don't really honestly care that much about how it's reacting to EMAs or the VWAP or any of that kind of stuff. What I use that stuff for, and this is like I said, this is my own personal approach. How I do it is these are just targets. And for me, it's an easy way for me to track, okay, well, what targets got hit? And when certain targets get hit, the play's dead to me. And when they start getting all crossed up like this, I'm not interested at all. This thing already faded back down to discounted price. Then it pops back up. Yeah, okay, cool. So you, like say you got lucky and you top ticked this thing today, and then it fades down to 260. That's, or just 255. Let's say you play this out, perfect scenario. So you're going to sit here and trade something that, has what, like 40, 45 cents range on it. For me, I'm not that I'm not doing that. On top of that, there's absolutely no volume whatsoever. And so to get fills, to get in, to get out of the stock, it's literally it's not worth my time. This is just a horrible, horrible chart. And for me, this is one of the biggest things that beginners have to deal with is when they're in such a rush to get out of their 9 to 5 job or make a ton of money to make whatever improvement that they think money's going to bring them, they start forcing stuff, and that is it's not a good thing in my opinion. Then on drama, I'm not a huge fan of this once again because um for me. it doesn't really have much of a gap. Like, okay, so this thing's up from 280, it's over here at 260. Then it just kind of takes off. For me, I like to trade things that gap up in pre-market and set a clear daily level. How I would trade this is it starts running after the open. This is just like pre-market. And so for me, the only way for me to trade this would to be look at the daily level. The second I went to the daily level, I saw this crap and I was just like, oh my God. And so you start zooming in on this thing. Give me a second because it's going to take a while because this thing is super, super, super beat down. The only way I would trade this is, like I said, ceilings and floors. And look at that. Ta-da, my freaking purple line right there. That is the absolute bare minimum that I'm willing to trade. And if you look at that, that is exactly high of day. It's a miracle how this shit works. But when you're a very beginner trader, you don't have a system, you don't have any of this kind of stuff. And when you start trading on emotion, that's how you start losing money a lot. And when I told, some of my traders, they're trying to catch all this front side shit. And I like, I start seeing all these guys that are posting, stuff like, oh, I got in here and then I let it go another 50 cents. Then I just add in here and then, I add in here and then add in here. And it's like, you just need to make sure that you're calculating your risk. And it's like, yeah, I mean, sure, dude. Like, if you can do that, cool. That's great. But for a beginner trader, like that is not how you want to be doing stuff at all. You want to wait for, you want to have the stock come to you. You don't want to just be jumping in short in front size, short in weakness. And when you're in all these rooms that just have people that are just doing crazy shit or have a lot more money than you, it's really easy to get sucked into that. And for me, this is the only place I'd be trading. Honestly, God's honest truth, I would probably get in here. I would probably get faked out, and then right when this slammed back down, I'd probably take another short instantly. And then yeah, okay, cool. So I took two trades on this thing. But it had to come to me. It had to go to my level for me to even consider trading this thing. Can't remember if I went over this one or not. This one, like I said, it hit the final target. For me, it's dead. Like it's not even worth my time because the highest point on this thing is that, just above $2. My final target would be like 172. So really, it's not even worth my time to even look at the damn thing. And then this one, I'm not a huge fan of because of how it is trading pre-market. Wait. Yeah, it was on this day that they were talking about. But for me, how I drew it in was if you absolutely had to trade this best case scenario, like I said, I want to find a topping. This crap over here in pre-market, this is not even how do you gauge where your risk is? There's literally no volume. There's nobody trapped. There's nobody that's panicking to get out of their position. You need to see somebody that's panicking. And then even after the open, there isn't enough volume to even be trading this thing. So why people find this stuff and like really like I feel like that's my biggest issue with a lot of these, I don't know, these communities is that like, people get sucked into it and it turns into a casino and people just, oh, hey, this is running, that's popping, it's super easy for beginner traders to get just sucked in and just start losing money because they don't have the experience to be like, hey, that's got, less than a million float. I'm not going to touch that thing. Or it doesn't have any gap stats, or it's on SSR, or it has no volume. There's no liquidity there whatsoever. Yeah, if you're trading this thing with 100 shares, yeah, it's easy to get in and out. But you start trading with bigger size, you're gonna get in trouble. And that's the whole thing about trading stocks is it's not about the money. At the very beginning, you're not gonna make any money anyways. You're gonna be making, $100, $200. Awesome. Okay, like yeah, that might be really good money for you, but the idea is to scale that stuff up to where you can actually start making a living off that. Like what happens when, the market's dead for a month or two and you can't make any money? If you're trading and you're making $100, $200, you're basically essentially paycheck to paycheck. You need to be able to use enough size to where you can start stockpiling up funds so that the market can be dead for 6 months and you don't care and you don't need to trade because it has such a huge shift in your mindset that, oh, I don't have to trade. I don't need to trade. That's what you really need to get to. And that's one thing I didn't understand when I first started trading. I showed up and every single day I saw something gapping, I was going to take a trade every day. And that is the worst thing ever. You need to be disciplined to not trade every day and have a set structure. What does this stock have to look like? What is my criteria to take the trade? What are my setups and what do they look like? And how do I make sure that this is a ideal trade for me? And I feel like that's a huge, huge shift for a lot of traders. And I hope that this little lesson helps some people. And yeah, I will be back. I'll start making some more trades. I used to do reviews all the time and I enjoyed it and it helped me out a lot. And so I'm going to try to start doing that again.